Dropout. My book is coming. I have a book out now, but I have a book that's going to be coming out, Dropout to Doctor, right? Because I was a high school dropout, and now I'm able to put doctor in front of my name, right? The other thing is understanding when I got married, I did not think that I was going to ever get married again. I thought I was going to get married one time and that was going to be my one and only marriage. But after 12 years of marriage, I found myself divorced, $75,000 in debt, lost my firstborn and my only son. And I found myself at a pivoting time in life where I didn't even think that life was worth living anymore. And so a friend of mine introduced me further into entrepreneurship. And that's one of the major things that I want to talk about tonight is being an entrepreneur, is implementing things in place. Why you have a 9-to-5, why you have a job.
I love it. I love it, girl. You already done jumped in to even some of the questions that I'm planning on asking you. So this is really, really good. So in thinking about money, you and I have had some conversations, and some of the conversations we've had is how people think money is evil. They say money is the root of all evil, but you got a whole theory around that. Share with us a little bit some of your thoughts on that.
So it's not that the money is the root of all evil. It's the things that people do for money that is the root, and that is the things that we consider evil. We have people that rob for money, cheat for money, steal for money. We work long hours for money. It's not all, nothing that we overindulge in is good. So even as a person like myself who used to be a workaholic, I am a recovering workaholic, right? And so coming from that, we think, and we grew up thinking that we trade time for money. And what I mean by trading time for money is we put in a lot of hours. Like, I was ignorant to the fact that I thought the more I work and the harder that I work, the more money I would have. But the truth of the matter is, the more you work, the less money you have. And so that's why it's important to make sure you have the right mentality, the right mindset around money so that you can understand money. How many of us say that we trade time for money? When for real, we should be trading money for time. Wow. See, if you give someone money and they do the work for you, then you free up more time. One of the major things, if we go down ICU and we talk to millionaires, I bet you they would not say that they want more money. But I can guarantee you the one thing they say is they wish they had more time.
Wow.
Time is our most valuable commodity, but it's also the very thing that we waste a lot of.
Wow.
And so one of my programs, I talk about that. I talk about how we waste time on the internet. You ever sit down and you're scrolling in the morning and you think that you are going to just post something and maybe like a few comments, right? And before you know it, an hour went by, an hour and a half went by.
Wow.
How about when you go to send out an email? You go to send one email, but you got about 50 emails. And now you find yourself, answering those emails before you even send out the email, if you ever send out the email that you initially set down to send out.
Come on, girl. Come on. You're teaching good. You're teaching good. And I think, one of the things you said that I think was so impactful is how time is more important and more valuable than money, because you can't get time back, but you can make more money. And then you tied in talking about people who are in ICU or, in a situation where they can't make money because they haven't taken care of their health. So it's so many things I want to ask you around this, but let me jump here. What are some of the key reasons why financial stability is crucial for families? When you think about financial stability, and I know you do a lot of teaching around that, and we're in an economy now that's different than a last economy that we was in. And now people are trying to get back to financial stability. Why is that important for us to have?
So before I deep dive into financial stability and answer your question, I think it's very important for us to even talk about the definition of financial stability. See, Dr. Tammie, when it comes to financial stability, it means something different for every one of us. But a lot of times we don't understand what we even need. and let me break down before I answer your question exactly what I mean, if I may.
Yes.
Many people have a job. We call it a 9 to 5. And we work a certain number of hours for a paycheck. And most people that have been there over 10 years, what is the main thing that they're thinking about? Retirement, correct?
Correct.
But when have they sat down to see exactly how much money they're going to need in retirement? So financial stability is going to come around one of the things that we title as your financial independence number, which is the amount of money you have to have saved so you can retire at the right age. Now, see, most people are still looking at retirement as an age, but retirement is not an age. Retirement is a number. Because would you say if you were in your 30s and you already have your 1.2 million that you need to have saved, that you would already retire? But if you're in your 70s or 80s and you don't have the amount of money you need to pay all your bills and to have something over, then what are those people still doing? Working. Which is why when we go into Walmart, Target, Costco, McDonald's, we're seeing our baby boomers, which is the people that should already be in retirement, still working, greeting us at the front door. And so financial stability is a certain amount of money that you have that will allow you to pay your necessities. Necessities such as food, gas, water, working utilities in your home. And then being able to, what I consider, leave a legacy and an inheritance. See, the great book says that we should leave an inheritance for our children's children's children, but most of us are still trying to figure out how to live day to day.
Girl, let me stop you right there. Most people are trying to figure out how to live day to day. And you're talking about legacy. You're talking about generational wealth. So help us to understand, starting now, what can we do to shift our mindsets so that money can play an important role in our lives in a healthier way?
So the number one step is to trace back where you got the mindset that you have currently. What are some of the things that you think about when it comes to money? I know when we were growing up, have anybody ever heard the saying, money don't grow on trees? You're in the store, and before you go in the store, what is the one thing that most of our African-American households, parents told us before we walked into the store, Dr. Tammie? What are some of the things that your parents told you? Don't you touch nothing.
Don't you ask for nothing.
You're not getting nothing, right? And what is the one thing that most kids do when they walk in those stores?
The opposite of what the parent told them. Can I have this? Can I have that?
And why is that? Because that's a child's nature, is to want those things, right? But we've been taught money doesn't grow on trees. But can I change your perspective? Is money not paper?
Ooh, come on now.
And does paper not come from trees? So it's very the contrary of what we've been taught, that money doesn't grow on trees, right? But money does grow from trees. So we just got to plant enough trees so we can have enough money.
You better come on here, Dr. T. I love this. I love that. Where does this perspective come from as it relates to money with you? I know your story, but some of them don't know your story. Where does this come from?
So I come from a very humble beginning. I will tell you that my mom raised us in a way that we did not know that we were underprivileged, okay? We had what we knew that we were supposed to have. As time went on, because I grew up also with a grandmother who was in the beauty industry, I came to love fad and fashion. And as I matured, I came in love with investing in myself. So we have a principle where we talk about invest in yourself in the way that you want to seek return. So a lot of people invest little, but they want a big result. You have to invest at the rate of the result that you want to receive. And so what I had to do was change my mindset from what I grew up thinking. I thought that people either had money and they didn't have any time with their family, or they had time with their family and didn't have any money. It wasn't until I started doing more personal development that I understood that you can have both. You can have time and money.
Come on.
So that's what I want to help educate people on, how to do both, how to have time and money. My course that we made was all about making sure that you pursue happiness, you pursue your purpose, so that your purpose can also be a paycheck for you. And a lot of times we don't do that because we haven't shifted our mindset, which is the very reason why people can hit the lottery today and be broke tomorrow. Have you ever noticed that people always say that I'll take a millionaire and I can take everything that he has and he'll become a millionaire again? But I can take a poor person and give them a million and they'll be poor again. And it's because they did not shift the mindset.
So, do I hear you suggesting that it's all psychological?
You hear me saying, not suggesting, I am absolutely inserting, and I am very insertive that it is all about the mindset.
Oof. That is so good. That is so good. Because when you think about the impact of money, it impact our relationships with our children, with our parents, with our spouse, with the community. So if our mindset is off, then there will not be a legacy left financially. I know you and I have talked about life insurance and as income replacement. Talk a little bit about that, because a lot of African Americans and other races of people as well have not taken advantage of some of the wealth building vehicles and opportunities that can put them in another category. Talk a little bit about some of those opportunities, such as insurance.
Absolutely. So, insurance is your number one way to leave an inheritance. It's the only thing that's not taxable. It's also a way to leave anybody that you want to leave money without going through probate or going to your estate first. Okay. And so, one thing about life insurance, which people that know me know that I lost my son, and I alluded to that when we first started. He was 27 years old and he has two children. And we didn't have life insurance on him. Now, as a parent, I never thought to have insurance on my children. I only thought to have insurance on me. Why? Because I was the person with the assets. I was the person that wanted to leave an inheritance. I'm the person that wants to leave my children better than I could even give them as I'm alive. And most of us are worth more dead than we are alive, right? And so that's if we understand wealth and we understand an inheritance and a legacy. See, in our communities, a lot of times it's not talked about. So what happens is we work hard and we die, and then our children come behind us. They work hard and then they pass off, and then their children. We keep building this ladder like that. But if I ask you who the Hiltons are, if I ask you who the Kardashians are, if I ask you who Beyonce is, in these people of celebrity and statues, we know who they are, right? But the thing about understanding who the Hiltons are, someone worked hard. And when they passed, they left their children here on their shoulders, and then they kept building from there. They didn't have to keep starting over. So this is one of the ways that we're going to be able to break curses and start leaving legacies, by understanding that if you teach someone, because you can leave someone money, but if you do, a legacy is not just leaving the money, it's leaving them the knowledge that goes with the money. Because if they don't have the knowledge, I just delivered a death claim check last week, $96,000. I promise you that money is gone in the first 30 to 60 days. Most death claim checks are gone within the first 90 days. Because we're not taught what to do with a lump sum of money. The first thing we want to do is pay off debt. But what we didn't do was replace the behavior that got us in the debt in the first place. So what happens is we accumulate debt all over again. So Dr. Tammie, my number one question is, what does most people do with a lump sum of money?
Wow. Wow. So you are saying GoFundMe is not the best way to take care of a family member after death. You are saying life insurance can help leave legacy, help leave wealth behind. So should we look at that differently?
Well, most people look at life insurance as a burial fund. Let me get enough that we can have the service. And that's all we think about. Now, when we have smaller children, sometimes we think about having enough that our smaller children can go to college or things like that. But the primary reason for life insurance is so that the family can continue to live the life that we are building for the family. That's the primary. The secondary is to have the service. See, even when you have a GoFundMe account, we're going to have the service. We can collect enough money to have the service. But what happens to how the kids go to college? How do we dress and feed the children? How do we still pay the mortgage? And what I'm noticing is that people that do have insurance, they have a la carte insurance. We have all these different types of insurances that don't talk to each other, that we don't even know is focused on the primary mechanism or not. So one of the things that I do for free is sit down with people and analyze their strategy. See, life insurance should be a strategy, not a policy. We get a policy and we put it in the file cabinet. We never go back and look at it. And we don't even know what it says because we've been not taught to read. We've been taught to skim. We look through things and hope that it says what it's supposed to say.
This is
one
good.
thing that I can tell you is that I would hate to be in a position to think it says something that it doesn't really say.
This is good, Dr. T. And I know we're staying on this probably longer than most think we should, but this is key because I'm seeing on social media and so many other platforms, GoFundMe, and people just in bad situations, not even thinking about a legacy, but thinking about just how to bury someone. But you're taking it further. You're talking about generational wealth. You're talking about leaving an inheritance for your children. I see on our platform, Dr. Lakita says, like the Rockefellers, so many people have set their families up for opportunities as it relates to wealth building and income replacement with life insurance. Talk to us a little bit. How do we know how much insurance we should have? We're talking Money Matters. For those who are just jumping in, we have the wonderful Dr. Tammie T. Wise, my alumni, my sis, my girlfriend, and she's talking about how to make the most in Money Matters and getting to your next. Talk to us, Queen, a little bit about how do we decide how much life insurance do we even need?
So we use something called the DIME. And DIME just stands for debt, income, your mortgage, and education. So how much debt do you have? That's the number one thing. We want to look at something that's going to cover your debt because most people don't understand that if you leave debt, it's going to come out your estate and that's going to take from your family, especially if you don't have life insurance. The income. Do you need income replacement? Who's relying on your income or who income you're relying on? See, sometimes we just look at it one way. We're looking at it from a selfish island. You know, who is relying on me? But you also got to look at who are you relying on? If you're married and your spouse is no longer there, how long can you stay in the house? Statistics say that 85% of the males pass away first. And the experts show that 85% of the women lose the household in the first year. And that's because if we have bills that takes two incomes and now we only have one income, we can clearly see that we wouldn't be able to carry on the family expenses. So that's number one, understanding how much debt is in the household. How much income do we need to replace? Do we need to pay a mortgage? Some people will have a mortgage insurance, and I love having mortgage insurance. But guess what? When you have mortgage insurance, that covers the mortgage company.
That's it.
Now, I know you're in real estate, so think about this. We pay off a mortgage, but how long does it take for that to happen? And then do you still want to live in the household? Because what if that person passes away in the house? You don't know how you're going to feel about that same house afterwards. So now you got to wait to sell. Does all property sell in the first 30 days, first 60 days, first 90 days, right? Not all the time. And especially we hear something called the buyer's market, the seller's market. So it may not even be the right time to sell. So if you only have a mortgage insurance, who is that really helping? Is it helping you or is it helping the mortgage company? But when you have a life insurance that covers all of these things, not a la carte, then you can do whatever you need to do whenever you need to do it. You can move somewhere and then still sell the house at a later date, or rent the house out until you decide you want to sell. So it gives you more options. And that's what I feel, that living a life of having money really just gives you a life of having options. The less money you have, the less options that you have.
Good stuff. Good stuff, lady.
That I am definitely much happier with money than I surely was without money.
Without it. I love it. I love it. You are dropping so much knowledge here on tonight. I'm looking in the chat. I want to just welcome some of our people here tonight. Music, so good to see you. Ronnie's in the house. Coach Rich, yeah, so good to see you. Good evening. Good evening. Dr. Lakita. Dr. Lakita is one of our alumni. Also, she's in the building. Yes, yes, yes. And she says, yes, because if you can't manage 96,000, then you $96, then you can't manage $96,000. So true, so true. Yvette, so good to see you. The DMV is in the house. Welcome, welcome. And we love to stop and mention our folks, and Yvette, different ones that are here. Thank you for joining in. So many people are listening to us on tonight, Dr. T. Some are in the chat and some are not. You know, you said so many wonderful things here already. Let me ask you this, because I know you and you are all about empowering women to get to their 6 and 7 figures and to max out in a way that they scale their businesses, they take care of their families, they travel, they spend time with their spouses and all that good stuff. Now, some people are saying this, believe it or not. Somebody is saying, but are there potential downsides or negative consequences associated with the pursuit of accumulating wealth? Somebody's saying that, because I've heard somebody say it don't take all that. I've heard people say, you know, I don't need money to make me happy. So are there any downsides, consequences associated with the pursuit of accumulating wealth, Dr. T?
That is a twofold question, Dr. Tammie. The number one thing that I will tell you is that there will come a time that someone in the family has to write a check with a whole bunch of zeros. And there are 4 seasons when it comes to money. Just like we have summer and we have winter and we have fall and we have spring, someone in the family, normally the matriarch, understands this. And that person normally saves enough for the winter seasons that they're going to have to feed the whole family. See, what happens if we're going to a family reunion and you lose 2 family members at the same time? I have a colleague of mine that just lost her sister, who went into a coma, and then her mom, who passed away from cancer. And they had a double funeral. I remember in my late 30s, and I know I only look 32 now, right? But I'm over 50. A girlfriend of mine, we were coming back from hanging out at a club. Her and her first cousin had a car accident, and they both passed away, and there was no life insurance. And so what happens when you have 2 family members at the same time and you're trying to have a service, or 2 family members that have an illness, or 1 family member that has an illness, but you don't have the type of job that you have enough leave that you have to take off, and they don't hold your position? What happens then? Because FMLA only lasts for so long for so many different causes, right? So the thing about it is, when you're able, or just, you know, we have pets, and I had another colleague who had a pet and got bit by a tick and got Lyme disease. You know, so these things happen, and sometimes insurances don't pay. When health insurance don't pay, what does your family just suffer? Or what happens when you make too much money to get a student loan? Do your kids not go to college? Or what happens when you pay and you went to college and you still got student loans and you have more than 1 kid? Or even the military says you can send 1 person to college. Well, what happens if you got multiple children? What happens if you got a set of twins, or just had 2, 3 kids? You got to pick which one's going to college. And I hear parents all the time say, well, my kid is going to get a scholarship. That's true. But what happens when we have COVID, or when we have tornadoes and the kids got to come home on an emergency flight, or you got to get to your kid in emergency and pack them up? Like, what happens then? Money is the only thing that's going to allow you to do these things in a state of an emergency.
Wow. So it's having money is a good thing. That's what I'm hearing you say. Having money, not only can you take care of your family and leave generational wealth, but you can create some memories. You can make memories around having money, whether it's travels, whether it's, having your child in a particular specialty, school, whatever the case may be. So money is not evil, Dr. T?
Well, again, we said twofold. So that's the good fold, right? But on the other side, you also have people that come out of the woodworks and expect you to pay for everything when you do have money. No matter whether you have the same upbringing, the same parents, the same options, but you choose different options, it can also cause people to do things for that money. It does cause arguments. I remember growing up, and the man used to be the one that provided for the family. And as time went over, you have more females that are making more money now than the males. And that causes arguments in marriages. I do a whole segment on money and marriage because we as women have to not immaculate our husbands and understand that even if you are making the most, that there's certain decisions that you make together. There's certain ways that you still carry yourself and handle yourself for the family, and not, make him feel less than a man, right? Because you're making more money. And so it's not that it's evil, it's how you handle it and your mindset around it. And then your maturity level as time evolves, so that you make the better decisions for you and your family as you make more money. But it all goes back to understanding your money triggers. We all have money triggers. And sometimes we don't understand those money triggers and what sets them. And so, taking, the different tests that we have and the different things to understand, well, what is my money trigger? What causes me to swipe my card? What causes me to get in debt? What causes me to think about money the way that I think about money? Because some of us do live like the Joneses. Some of us want to be the Jones. Some of us are the Joneses. But all of those things still comes back to our subconscious mind and what we feel about money.
Let me ask you this. I was talking with some friends earlier who are entrepreneurs and who are scaling their businesses and thinking about our entrepreneurs now. We've talked about families, we've talked about income replacement, we talked about taking care of our family members. What about business owners out here who are seeking opportunities to scale their businesses and to take it to that next? What do you think about good debt versus bad debt? Is there such thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is such thing of good debt and bad debt. I even have a whole video that I did on good debt. One of the major things that I will say when it comes to entrepreneurs, we are very good at our craft, but that mainly makes us not as good when it comes to money management. And the reason that I say that is just like our children, or when we were in educational school, you may be good at athletic but not academic, or good at academic and not athletic. Very rarely do you find a child that is good at both. And so I raised a child that's like that. My youngest daughter, she's very good at being an athlete, but she's also very good academically. And so I found that same thing happens when we become entrepreneurs. And as an entrepreneur, we're very good at what we do. You're very good at real estate. I'm very good at finances, but who's teaching us to be good with the money management? Who's teaching us how to understand finances? So I really feel like it's an oxymoron when we're very good at what we do, but we don't look at after the money. Because now you're working hard and not smart, because you're working and making money on the front end, but it's going out the back door just as fast as you're making it. And one way you can tell that is if your savings and your investment account is not increasing every single year. Like, we're just in January. What did fourth quarter look like? When you analyze your books, were you able to put more money away? Because if not, then this is the time you sit down with people like myself and figure out a strategy so that this year doesn't end up like your past years. Because if not, you're not scaling up, you're just working. And I call that, you know how when we had a paycheck to paycheck, I call that client to client, project to project.
That's really good. That's really good. And I wanted you to touch on that because I had to learn, I came from this system where they always talked about being debt free, debt free, debt free. And I did that and I enjoyed that. And then I became an entrepreneur. And then I started opening offices and then I started hiring people. And I saw myself getting into debt. And I felt, from the Larry B. Cats to some of the other folks in the world of finances that talked about no debt, no debt, no debt. But what I realized, my business credit score is awesome. My business credit is wonderful because I've utilized tools to scale and establish my business in a way that does not affect my personal credit. Can you talk a little bit about personal credit versus business credit?
So you brought up a lot of good things. Number one is money is a tool. And when people understand that money is a tool and how to utilize their tool, like we have a saying that says, if you're working too hard, you have the wrong tool. If you're still working too hard, you have the wrong strategy. And so understanding the tool and then working your strategy, then you will start to manifest the life that you want to live, right? And so when it comes to personal credit, the way you manage your personal finances is the same way you're going to manage your business finances. So we got to get your personal finances right to get your business finances right. And a lot of times people start out, you will use your personal credit to be a guarantor to help with your business credit. And I will tell you that I personally made the mistake for many, many years just utilizing my personal credit. I always had great credit. And you bring up another thing, like I had someone that was very close to me told me she was going to somebody else to let them help her with her credit. And I'm saying, do you even understand the questions to ask people when it comes to asking them to help you with credit? Like, did you even ask them what their credit score is? Do they even have a bank account? Do they even have a house? Like, what do they have to make you feel like that they can help you with your credit? Number one, right? But understanding and protecting your credit then helps you even build your business credit. So with your personal credit, the more you spend, the worse your credit score is. With business credit, the more you spend, the more business credit you get, and the more you can have, and the better your credit score becomes. So a lot of times I found out that we are living lives off of myths, not off of real factual facts when it comes to understanding personal credit and business credit. When it comes to understanding with your personal credit, a FICO score, but with your business, it's your Dun and Bradstreet. So just understanding these type of things and how they affect you, like having too much involving debt, guess what? Will make it look like your credit is like a bankruptcy. Is as bad as having bankruptcy, but you don't know that thing. But having business credit allows you to do the very opposite. So I'm very, we have some good information on the internet, but a lot of times people are standing on what we're seeing and not understanding the real facts. Like when people are saying you can buy your car in your LLC and you can become your own bank and all these things, but not understanding that banks don't even use their own money to be a bank. So why would you use your money and be a bank? Like if you just hear these things, then you start to reason with yourself and say, that's right. That doesn't make sense. Banks don't use their own money. Right? So how am I going to become a bank using my own money?
Wow. I tell you, this is so good. And I love the fact that you're speaking on so many different levels. Now we're talking about business and money. When you think about mindset, when you think about mindset to millions, and you and I, we've had these conversations down there in Atlanta, and over the phone and so forth and so on, and shifting your mindset to even realize that you belong at the table. You and I both were coaches and we teach people how to get to their 6 and 7 figures, and we're in Black CEO groups together and things of that nature. What about that person out there, Dr. T, who is saying, I hear you all are talking sort of above my pay grade. I'm not a business owner yet. Okay. I have a job. I'm trying to make ends meet. I'm trying to send my kid to school. I'm trying to go on a vacation. I haven't been on a vacation in years. Where do people start at to shift their mindset to get in the game of finances in a positive, in a healthy kind of mindset way?
I would say the very first step is to sit down with yourself, make a date with yourself. And I always say your money making pen and your successful journal. Go to the dollar store, get you a cute little journal, and write yourself a letter. Understand where you are right now and where you want to be. The first thing is identifying. In any step of recovering program, the first thing you have to do is admit that there's a problem. If you cannot manage the paycheck you get every 2 weeks, then what makes you think that you're going to manage the lump sum or manage the hundreds of thousands any better? So the first thing is just identifying, admitting that, you know what, maybe I need help managing my finances better. That's step number one. Once you admit that, now we can help. Now we can say, you know what, that I've admitted this, what can I do? The other part is tracking where your money is going. Writing down every dollar. When you pump gas, do you go in and buy some chips? Do you buy a soda? Do you buy a pack of gum? Excuse me, because all of those $10, $15 add up. When you use Cash App, are you getting your money right away where they're charging you $5, $10, $15? Because those add up. Do you know that just investing $25 a month for 30 years will give you $75,000? Just off of 75? I'm sorry, just off of 25. So imagine if we're doing 75 or 50. When we pay more than that in a cell phone, we pay to communicate with other people that don't even care about us, but yet we won't put the money aside that we will have some money so we don't have to work until we pass away, until our expiration date.
Lady.
So writing down, where's your money going? Because those $10s and $15 start to add up. Looking at the subscriptions you have. Let me tell you, Dr. T, I do a audit, right? And my financial audit, I found out that my cell phone company, I'm not going to label them today, but my cell phone company had charged me an extra $100 per line on my cell phone bill. Now, most of us have moved to automation, where automation is good, but automation is not the end all. You still have to check things. So I went back to having them mail me my bills so that I will at least start to read them again and look over my bills, right? And so I saw where they charge me extra money, because when you're in business, you're just writing those checks. You're not thinking about it. Now, your personal bills, you might analyze a little deeper, but your business bills, you don't look at them as much, right? And so I saw that, and I called them, and do you know they easily just refunded me my money?
Wow.
I had paid off a credit card, and they charged me an interest fee. And I kept saying, well, I'm going to call them and find out what this interest fee is, because if I paid them and I didn't charge anything new, what are they charging me interest on? Because technically the interest fee is supposed to be on the new charges, right? So I forgot to call. Guess what? Then they charged me a late fee of $35 that was higher than the actual interest fee that was only $30.
Wow.
So now I had a bill of $67. And most of us don't want to take the time to call. I didn't want to take the time to call, but I don't like to just give away money. So I called. Guess what? They refunded me the whole $67, not just the interest charge, but also the late fee.
So I'm hearing you say it is important to be diligent. It is important to have good record keeping skills. It is important to look at where your money is going. So it's not too late for anyone who wants to accumulate wealth to be able to do so.
Absolutely. Because if you think about it, that $67, I'm sure there's other places. That extra $100 that I was being charged from the cellular company, those, we're talking about $500 right there. Do you know $500 is the amount that you can put in under 500 in a tax-free account. That's also your money is doubling.
Mm.
So
Wow.
when you max that out, that's an extra $200,000-$300,000 that you can have in your savings.
This
So
is
those are
good.
things that we look at to see, where are we spending our money? What are we spending our money on? And where can it serve us better? Because some things that we're doing, it no longer serve us the purpose that we initiated it for. So doing a financial audit is one of the major things that I feel is very important and one of the first places to start.
This is so good, so good. I know I keep saying that, but I love these kinds of conversations. And I think even around real estate, and you and I have had these conversations as well. I was talking to someone earlier today, and a beautiful friend of mine's, and she was only approved for a small, very small amount for a home, like 145,000. And in the region where we live, $145,000 is not going to get you hardly anywhere to live. If that, I mean,
Right.
literally, if
Yeah,
that.
condos are double too, right?
Right. And we're finding investors that are coming along with cash, just swiping those up. So, you're competing with, conventional FHA and all of that with cash. So, but my whole point is, we talked about you have to start somewhere. So, in thinking about real estate, talk a little bit about how owning real estate can impact you in a financial way like no other vehicle possibly.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's an excellent question. And I feel that a lot of times people get in real estate at the wrong time. I believe that we all should have real estate as part of our portfolio, but I believe that you should go into real estate when you can afford to go into real estate. See, when we were talking about good debt, bad debt, real estate is one of those things that it can fall on good debt or bad debt. Most of us have been taught to own a home. But when you own a home, that is considered good debt. It's a debt instrument. It's a liability. It's not an asset. It's not bringing you any income if you're in it and you're living in it. So it's a debt, but it's a good debt. It's a good debt because you can do things with it. It can appreciate. Right. You can get equity from it appreciating. You can also rent out rooms, or you can rent out the whole house, or you can do different things that can cause it now to be an asset. But most people get into real estate, that is, purchasing a home, and they're not making enough money to keep the upbringing of a home. Because if you think about it, you got taxes, you got the insurance. Sometimes you have PMI, which is the insurance on the mortgage. And those things will cause you to be paying out more. Sometimes you have associations. So all of these are things that is what? More expenses on that home, right? But when you will set and align it up where maybe you rent out a room, now you can offset some of your cost. But if you're not making enough to be able to allow someone else to pay the mortgage, then now you got to find other ways to bring in income, which is why people are always talking about 7 streams of income. But most people are doing 7 different things to bring that, which means they're not bringing in hardly no income because we can't be stretched that wide, right? But when it comes to real estate, you got to look at how much is the taxes, how much is the mortgage, how much is the insurance, and then what can you do to offset some of that cost. And most people don't see what they can do to offset that cost. They're just living in the home, which now just makes it debt.
And I want to add to that, one of the things I've been saying for many years, being a broker owner of a real estate company, and I've had a couple of offices, is, I like to look good. I love to travel. I love pocketbooks. I love shoes. I love to dine out. We're in the Raleigh-Durham area, and apartments here, condos, townhomes that you would rent here in a decent neighborhood might be $2,500. And sometimes I have people come into the real estate office saying, I want to buy a home because I took a workshop and I understand the value of creating wealth. I understand the value of an example. My 19-year-old bought a $205,000 townhome when he was 19. He's 22 now. That same townhome is worth $390,000. But I'm having some people saying, I want to get in a appreciating opportunity versus depreciating. I know I want a new Mercedes or a new BMW, but I do want to build some wealth in real estate, but I'm not willing to not travel. I'm not willing to not buy the next Louis Vuitton. I'm not willing to, do the extensions in my hair. Now, I'm just speaking honestly. People come and they tell me these kinds of things. So when you talked about being prepared, those are some of the things, wouldn't you say, that people need to think about what appreciate versus what do not appreciate in value? What do you say, Tanya?
I absolutely agree with you. I concur. I get that same thing when it comes to life insurance. But your nails are done. You got a new wig, a new lace front, but you don't want to get a $60 policy. Like, I get it. But that goes to show, again, that person isn't one have the business mindset. Buying a home is a business. Being in marriage is a business. These are businesses. And if you don't go into it with the right mindset, you're not going to get the right outcome. So when you purchase a home, what is the purpose of purchasing a home? Making sure that you purchase a home that has enough rooms for your children, or is this going to be an inheritance property, or what is the purpose of buying the home? I find that most people are doing things without a purpose, even bank accounts. I ask my client, what is this account for? And what is that account for? And what is this? When you have accounts and they don't have a purpose, right? Mm-hmm. We cause that thing to be misused and misunderstood. So we got to call it by its name and line it up with what this purpose is for. And so even one of my investment account is home paid off, right? Yes. Would I pay off my house? No, I don't. I'm not going to do that. That's just my strategy. Mm-hmm. But do I have enough money in an account to pay it off if I ever choose to? That's what I'm building. So again, I go back on the analogy, and this is my own philosophy, is how often does one person normally comes into a lump sum of money?
Dr. T, do I hear you saying that it is important to have a why, that your money should be tied to your why, whether it's a bank account, whether it's even, because when you talk about dime, whether it's debt, income, whatever the case is, your why. Let's talk a little bit about your money being tied to a why. And I'll start, and then you and I have had some of these conversations. Then I want you to share with the people about your why. I remember when I was a single mother, a divorced, newly single mom with a 5-year-old in hand, that was my why to scale my business and to get more money. When my mother needed a place to live, I understood my assignment. My why was to build her a house. And I can go on it. My recent why was to build 10 tiny homes in Africa. So when people say, well, it don't take all that. You don't need all this money. Wouldn't you suggest, and I want you to share with the audience, what have some of your whys been, your WHY in caps and bowls been to help you keep creating the wealth that I know you're creating?
So I'm going to go off of one of my philosophies, which is AID. The A stands for aspiration, the I stands for inspiration, and the D stands for desperation. Now, we would love for people to create these whys off of aspiration, things that they want to happen in life. Actually changing your purpose into a paycheck, understanding your inspiration, things that you just are inspired that you want for you and your family. But do you know that 85% of people only create what they need to create out of desperation? It's only when our backs are up against the wall. It's only when we get that eviction letter. It's only when our job says that they're going to let us go or we get laid off. Only when we lose a loved one. we decide that we're going to go after what it is that we need to go after. It's that desperation is when we create it. Listen, I had businesses. I was doing my 9 to 5 and I was playing around with different businesses. I've done dump trucks, tow trucks, assisted livings, hair salons, nail tech, med tech, eyelash infusionist, medical billing, notary, and real estate. But I made some money doing all those things. But it wasn't until I lost my son where I nearly almost lost everything because I became emotionally unemployable, did not want to just go to work anymore. That I was inspired out of my desperation to make my businesses make 6 figures. Prior to that, I just was making money. But none of those businesses had I made 6 figures in. But after I lost my son, now these businesses are important to me. Why? Because I'm fighting for my flexibility. I'm fighting for my freedom. I'm fighting for my sanity, where I don't have someone telling me that when my pops was passing that, do you need to take an hour leave because you're on the telephone? When I'm talking to the nurse and my father passed away 2 days later. Like, when you have just the 9 to 5, you're constrained. It's like being in prison. They get to tell you what time to be there, how long to be there, if you can have a day off or not, if you can go to your family reunion, if somebody else got seniority. These are desperation situations that causes you now that feel like you want to make money because somebody got their thumb on you. Somebody else is dictating when you get to go to your kid's graduation. Or my husband is an entrepreneur now, retired from military 26 years, and he does sound shows and travel around the world. I would have to put in a leave. And you think they're going to let me go every 2 months, every 3 months, every once a month to these things to take off every Friday? Oh, they wouldn't allow me to do that. So being married once before, and now I'm living with my dream guy, my dream house, driving my dream car, right? But now I have more options. My why became my freedom, my flexibility, me being able to travel when I want, how I want, creating a business that I can do anywhere I want with whom I want. Those are the things that will cause you to want to be inspired. And then you will move to your aspirations. But it's only, to me, comes after you have had a desperate situation.
Wow.
It's sad that it's like that. It shouldn't be like that. But when you get the right mindset, that's why I love Mindset to Millions, because when you get the right mindset, then you can start to create these movements for yourself.
Lady, I tell you what, you have dropped some knowledge tonight. Can you believe an hour is almost gone? I mean,
like we've just been talking for 10 minutes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm going to put in the chat some information about you because I know people want to follow up with you because you have said so much. Thinking about in our closing, we only have about 4 more minutes. In our closing, what's going on with Dr. Tammie T. Wise? What are you doing? What can we get involved with as it relates to your platforms? Share a little bit with us. I'm going to put your link in the chat that goes more in detail, but what are you doing? How can people reach you? They want to talk to you. They want to have a one-on-one. How can you be reached, Queen?
So right now you can follow me on all platforms as Dr. Tammie T. Wise. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. But the major thing that I'm giving away today, now, because we're talking about Mindset to Millions, I'm not like the ordinary person. I'm not going to give you something free. I did mark down my book to $5. And the book is called Dream, Design, and Dominate. What have you been dreaming about? What is that one thing that you really want to accomplish? We're going to help you design it. And after you design it, you're going to dominate that thing to your $1 million. But the thing about it is you got to already believe that it's going to happen for you. And so you can get the book today for $5, right? And then I'm having a 1-day intensive that we're going to have the weekend. I believe that the date is the 3rd. Is the date the 3rd? On the 3rd, we're going to do a 1-day intensive to help you implement everything that you need to implement so you can start dominating in your life. And so
Tanya.
that's my offer tonight. I'm going to give you a $5 book. And so Dr. Tammie put that link in there because I believe when you get something free, you don't utilize it. And whereas $5 is not a lot, I wanted you to pay something so you can start paving your way for the rate of return that you want. I want you to fall in love with investing in yourself.
I love it. I love it. I put the link in there. Yvette says these have been some facts tonight. Correct. Dr. Lakeita says, hey, this is correct. Music says, what amazing information you're giving us. So grateful to be here. Facts, very important information, says Bridget. People have gotten something out of this. Somebody said, preach. You better preach, girl. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. People have been blessed, Dr. Tanya. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming on Mindset to Millions. My sister, my homegirl, my alumni, I love you. I appreciate you. I appreciate the man of God and what you all are doing in that area that you're in the lives that you are impacting. In our last 60 seconds, it's actually 8:59. Take 30 seconds to share any last thing you want to say to the audience before we sign off.
I just want to let you know that there's never too late to go after the things that you want out of life. You can have the flexibility that you want. You can have the money that you want. You can have the freedom. But it all starts with taking the first step. And the first step is clicking that link, making sure that you're aligning yourself up with people that believe in you. So right now, I need you to borrow the belief that I have in you, that you can have the life that you desire to design. After all, you've already been designing it. Signing off, Dr. Tanya T. Wise.
Thank you so much. And you have had moments with Tanya T and myself, Mindset to Millions. We are so glad we live to tell the story. Thank you, Dr. T. And I'll see you all next Monday, 8 o'clock. Come on in these rooms. Can't wait to talk to you. Good night.
Thank you for having me.